Welcome along. My name is Ben Stanley and I design and create paper-based working replicas of beloved Muppets, puppets, characters and creatures, and today I'm sharing with you my latest puppet creation, which is of course Stitch.
My name's Stitch. Aloha!
If you've watched my channel before, you'll know that what I tend to do with my videos is I'll show you a sort of step-by-step how to make this puppet. And I'm definitely going to do that video, but today I thought it might be interesting to share with you a little bit about the design process. I wanted to make him as round and organic feeling as possible. I wanted him to be able to stand up on his own. I also wanted him to be able to sit down. What was important to me was to have lots of articulation in the joints and also so that his eyes can open and close. Stitch is made out of 35 sheets of A4 paper, 9 paper fasteners, 4 sticks of glue, 4 mini magnets, 3 paper clips and 1 bamboo barbecue skewer. I always like to start with the head, because the head's like, for me it's the most sort of interesting bit. It's the thing that really gives you the personality of the puppet. So what I did is I found a front elevation and a side elevation, expanded it up to A4 size on each one, and then I cut it out. Then I drew around it on cardboard, and then I was able with the front elevation to make slightly smaller versions so that I could slot that in to create the sort of contours, and that gave me a sort of rough shape for the head. I covered that in paper, and then what I wanted to do is sort of draw on the features to get a sense of what it was going to look like, and then it's a case of cutting it out. So then I cut it out, I lay it out onto another piece of paper, and then it's a case of drawing around that on the piece of paper. So I've got the pattern, and then what I tend to do is I'll take a photo of that pattern, I put it into a computer program, I'll trace over it, and then I print that out, and then I recreate it, and that gives me a sense of, can I use that sort of flat paper plane to create this 3-dimension? And what I'm always looking for is as round a shape as possible, but also I want to do it in as few pieces as possible. At this stage, I've got a nice sort of shape that I'm happy with, and I've got the template pattern for the paper to be able to create that. Then we're on to the ears, and with the ears I wanted obviously to make sure that they could point up as they do, but also be able to point down. So I incorporated the idea of magnets so that when the ears are up, you've got the magnet holding it in place, and then you can just sort of flip it down and it'll go, but then flip it up quite easily. So with the mouth I had to make a decision whether it was going to be a Stitch where the mouth would fully close, or where it was going to be a mouth that you can really see his sort of quite iconic teeth, and it just wasn't going to be possible to have both, but I thought the teeth were more important ultimately, and you can see there the teeth are just made with little cones. He's got quite a shallow chin, and so there isn't really a huge amount of space for the thumb to do the mouth, and so what I decided is I incorporated the thumb into the tongue. So effectively underneath the tongue there is where the finger is working it to open it up and down. So then by this stage I've got a pretty good and clear head. I've got the nose, I've got the ears, I've got the shape of the head, and I've got the jaw. But what I really wanted to do with this puppet is to make sure that the eyes could open and close. And the original puppet that I ever put on YouTube was a Baby Yoda puppet, and with that one I had the eyes opening and closing, but they only opened and closed from the top, so they just sort of went down and up. But with this puppet I really wanted the eyelids to come from above and below. So clearly I'm not the first person to get a puppet to open and close its eyes, and I'm sure there are lots of ways of doing it, but I wanted to be able to have them to open and close without any sort of spring mechanism, and I wanted to use paper. I allowed myself a couple of paper fasteners, but really I wanted it to be the fingers that would open and close the eyes as part of the mechanism. And I probably could have looked it up, but I didn't. I was like, well, how would I do this? And there may be better ways of doing it, but the way I came up with was kind of a lever effect, effectively. I was looking at scissors and how they open and close, and I just sort of went from there and worked out how I could have the fingers in the middle opening and closing both eyes at the same time. And I went through loads of iterations of this, and it got quite complicated, and then it got a bit simpler again. And here you can see the mechanism as it works, and it works very well on a flat piece of paper. It's really smooth. But then of course what I had to do once I had the mechanism is I had to put it into a 3-dimensional spherical shape, so it had to sort of curve around the inside of the head, and that became a challenge in itself. It took a long time to be able to work out how to make the mechanism as flexible as possible, but also strong, and stop it jamming effectively. But I eventually got there, and as you can see here, it was sort of quite an intricate, sort of almost like a clock mechanism really. But as I say, all made out of paper, other than the paper fasteners. It's not a perfect mechanism by any stretch, but it does work, and I think it really helps to bring out its personality. So that was the head, and the next stage was the body. And as I say, the body shape itself was created in exactly the same way as the head. I created the sort of cardboard skeleton, and I covered it over, and then I created the template from that. Now, in terms of the articulation of the limbs, I started off with the legs, which was this idea of having almost just a ball joint. And this is something that I did in my Mario puppet. I created 2 cones, and that one cone would sit inside the other cone, and then this kind of helps to pull the body and the leg joints together, gives them a bit more security and strength. And I originally had exactly the same for the arms. It wasn't strong enough for the arms because the arms are going to be quite heavy because there's quite a lot of joints to them. And they were basically just falling off to some extent. So I had to rethink that. Across the middle I ended up with a cylinder, and I wanted that cylinder to be able to allow the arms to move separately. So it became the joint in which the 2 shoulders, they would be able to spin around. The shoulder needed a joint to link to the top of the arm, and then another joint for the elbow joint in order to be able to come out to the forearm, and then a final joint for the hand. What I really wanted is to have as much natural arm movement as possible to give him shoulder and elbow and wrist articulation. The tail at the back is quite useful because it allows me, when I'm manipulating the puppet, to kind of have an anchor point to keep the body still while the head's moving around, and then I can swap between manipulating the right paw with the hand rod, which is, as I say, a bamboo skewer from a barbecue. Both of the legs, I've got these little handles on, which are made out of paper clips. And then the last bit was really how to get the strength to be able to link the head and the body together. And again, I went with a similar idea to the joints in the hips, where 2 cones together with a paper fastener in between, and that kind of gives it that bit of strength in order to be able to effectively lift the body up with the head, so it's sort of dangling there effectively. All of those ideas got thrown in, and then there was lots and lots of refining the detail. It's been a bit of a labour of love, but I'm super proud of the final outcome. If you like the puppet, please do give me a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching, and look out in the future for the video I'm going to share, which is literally me going through every step to show it, and yeah, you can see how everything was put together. Till next time, thanks very much. Bye bye.